Welcome back. Before we can lead a great session, we need to plan one. But planning doesn't just mean making a to-do list. It means taking time to understand your student, set clear objectives, and build in opportunities for them to think, try, and reflect. Most of the time, for every 30 minutes you spend with a student, you'll need to spend 5 minutes minimum preparing. So let's walk through how to plan a session that's flexible, personalized, and actually helps your student learn. First, set a purpose for the session. Every strong session starts with a purpose. Not a vague topic like go over financial statements, but a clear, actionable objective that is something the student will be able to do by the end of your time together. You might start by asking yourself, what's one thing I want the student to walk away being able to do that they couldn't do before? Let's say your student is preparing for a finance event. Instead of saying, let's cover income statements, you could say, by the end of the session, the student will be able to walk me through a sample income statement and explain which 2 areas they'd monitor weekly if they were running this business. Notice how that's not just about knowledge, it's about application. Now here's the twist. You don't always need to set that goal alone. And in fact, if you will be working with the student through multiple sessions, you shouldn't. Right at the beginning of the session, ask, what do you want to feel more confident about by the end of our time today? When students help define a goal, they're far more likely to stay engaged and follow through with it. From there, assist them in reframing their answer into something specific and achievable. For example, if they say, I want to get better at answering questions from judges, you might say, alright, so let's focus on building 2 to 3 strong, flexible answers that you can adapt to any situation and then practice saying them out loud. Set one core goal, and if time allows, build in a stretch goal, which is something extra that they can tackle if things go smoothly. Finally, try to think of one retention anchor. That's a metaphor, phrase, or shortcut that will help them remember the concept related to their core goal later on. Second, break the goal into a learning path. Let's say the goal is for the student to build a basic marketing strategy. You might break that down into 3 steps. 1. Understand the target audience. 2. Select the promotional mix. And 3. Connect it back to business goals. Once you understand what you're working towards, it's time to ask, what are the building blocks that lead to that skill? From there, ask yourself 3 things. What background knowledge do they already have? Where are they likely to get stuck? And what's the simplest possible explanation I can give before letting them try it? Because here's the thing, mentoring is not about delivering long explanations. These videos obviously don't follow that rule because we have unlimited time, but your sessions will be constrained. As a result, you have to think about creating space for the student to think. That means you need to give them just enough direction to get started and then step back. Sometimes it helps to prepare an analogy or a visual in advance. For example, if you're teaching ROI, you might compare it to interest you earn on your business decisions. Keep it simple and connect it to something real. Third, choose 1 or 2 teaching strategies. Now you know what you're teaching and how it breaks down, it's time to decide how to deliver it. Remember, your job is not to lecture, it's to build engagement. Here are a few structures that you can choose from, though you are never limited to just these. These are just meant to provide some support to new mentors. You might try a think aloud. You model how you would solve a problem, say walking through a pricing decision, and then ask the student to do the same, narrating their thought process as they go. Or maybe you use a comparison activity. Show 2 versions of a marketing plan, one strong, one weak, and then ask, which would you approve and why? Additionally, you could use a progressive reveal. For example, this would be showing just the first part of a financial projection and then asking the student, what do you expect to come next? Why? Furthermore, even if you're mentoring one-on-one, you can simulate peer teaching, which has proven benefits to learning retention. Consider asking, how would you explain this to a student 2 years younger than you? And when in doubt, try using what I call a failure first example. Bring in a flawed roleplay response or a messy budget and ask the student to fix it. This forces them to think critically and apply what they've learned, not just noddle on. Additionally, it also gives them space to ask questions. Many students don't want to admit when they're confused, and starting with failure first examples, they can ask under the guise of fixing the failed attempt and then apply what they learned to their own. Fourth, plan how to check for understanding. Now this part is crucial and most mentors skip it. Too many of us say any questions and then move on when the student says no. But here's the reality. Students often don't know what they don't know. So instead, build in a real check for understanding into every session. Halfway through, pause and ask, what's felt the most confusing so far? If they say nothing, gently probe. Prepare common questions that you get from other students or areas where you notice people mess up. For example, some students get tripped up on how to apply KPIs to the financial section. How solid are you feeling on that? This keeps things nice and non-aggressive, so even the shyest students won't feel too pressured. Additionally, it takes the stress of them immediately to think of a question, and it could even prompt a new one. Or try a strategy like 3-2-1, where you ask the student to write down 3 things they learned, 2 things they're still unsure about, and 1 question they want to dig in next. You can also flip the script. You're the judge now. How would you score this response? The goal of understanding check-ins isn't to catch them messing up. It's to figure out whether or not your teaching is actually landing. 5th, build a time-smart structure. However, even with all of this planning, it can fall apart if you don't manage your time well. Here's a simple framework for a 45-minute session. You may want to screenshot this for future reference. Most mentors choose to do 30, 45, or 60-minute sessions. It's generally suggested to keep it to increments of 15 minutes just to keep scheduling easier. Additionally, you should always come prepared with 3 things. 1 bonus task in case you finish early. 2 1 cuttable concept in case you run out of time. And 3 1 fallback activity in case your plan doesn't land. Some mentors will even color code their outline to make it easier to plan for these contingencies. Green is must cover, yellow is nice to have, and red is extra only if there's time. That way you can adapt in real time without losing focus. Pro tip: before your session ever begins, you should be able to answer, what do I want the student to be able to do? How am I helping them think, not just remember? What will I do if they're struggling or speeding ahead? And how will I know if it's working? When you walk in with those answers, you're not just showing up, you're showing up prepared. And that is what separates a decent mentor from an excellent one. Once again, thank you for supporting us.